Hello everyone, and welcome back to A Bookish Thespian. My name is still Alyssa, and things must be going pretty good because I'm posting another video. This review will be spoiler-free. I will mention some plot points as for trigger warnings. Not exactly trigger warnings. There's nothing super triggering in this book, but sort of, hey, look out for this, because this is something that really threw me off the first time I read it. But none of the things that I mention are super vital to the plot, and they do not spoil anything. You just might hear a little bit about a scene or two that I want to warn you about. For this one, I really wanted to do a book review of a book that I just finished. It came highly recommended to me by one of my best friends, and I really trust her judgment because we know what each other like, and we respect that even if we don't agree, but we know if we read something that the other is going to enjoy. So she recommended this to me, and I've been meaning to read it for a very long time, and it's recently become a TV show, which has been my push to actually read it, so I can watch the show and enjoy it even more because I understand the source material. American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I got this beautiful copy from Barnes & Noble. They were having a sale on their collector's editions of books, and so this lovely copy with these silver tinted pages and a built-in bookmark. And look at the back, is beautiful, and it's shiny, and it also has Anansi Boys in it, which I haven't read yet, but I plan to do very soon. Was only $10 when the paperback version of American Gods alone was like $17. I really wanted to read this before I watched the TV show, which I'm super excited for. Bryan Fuller is an amazing person. You might recognize him from doing Pushing Daisies or Hannibal, both of which are shows that I love very much. Hannibal is based off of the Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, Hannibal Rising, and Hannibal novels. Those weren't in the right order, but you get the gist. By Thomas Harris. Bryan Fuller is known for representation in TV. He changes things from the original text to make them more representative of today's world. For example, in Hannibal, he changed the race of characters, he changed the sexual orientation of characters, he changed the gender of some characters, all to make it more encompassing of the world we live in, which is very nice. With his American Gods show, I'm very excited to watch it because this book already has so much representation of it, and I can only imagine how well he handles that on screen. American Gods, in a nutshell, is about when settlers came to America, or even just travelers came to America, and they stayed here for any time long enough to worship their gods. The gods took root in America, and Americanized versions of these gods were born. And they are slowly getting weaker and weaker because people don't worship gods like they used to. These gods are becoming very weak because they don't have the blood sacrifices. And then there is this new race of gods coming in who are gods of things like technology and computers and roads and cars, and they are trying to get rid of all the old gods. They're trying to kill them all off. They're starting a war to end the old gods so that their full reign can begin. So this book revolves around a man named Shadow who has recently gotten out of prison, and he begins working for a man who goes by Wednesday. He is a god. You don't find out what god he is until a little bit further on, but you can speculate and pretty much guess who he is. And it's him assisting this god. He is to drive him where he needs to go. He's supposed to take care of things, beat up anyone if need be. If Wednesday happens to die, he is to hold his vigil. And Shadow's not exactly savvy with all of that is going on, and he's slowly coming to and understanding all of it. He is working for the old gods, but the new gods are vying for him to become their pawn rather than the old gods' pawn. And it is just the story of Shadow. This isn't told in a fully linear pattern. There are some flashbacks or flash sideways that show specifically the gods and them interacting with people, how they came to America, how they are living in America. So it's not just focusing on Shadow alone, and it's not just focusing on the war alone. It tells of the gods, which I think is super neat. And it was so cool to see people of all these different cultures coexisting as gods. And if anything, gods are the only ones that have an excuse to fight each other. And they didn't. They existed together. There is, like, Norse mythology. Egyptian mythology is actually featured very heavily. Anansi, who his sons are featured in the second book. Anansi is an African god. He goes by Mr. Nancy. He is actually my favorite character because he is the funniest, sweetest thing. He tells all these stories. And there are Hindu gods. I remember Shiva is specifically featured. There are Muslim deities and creatures. There are mythical creatures. There's Native American themes, heavily prevalent, Thunderbirds, and all these really cool things. I love it. I love it. There's so much representation, and that is something that's very important to me. It's not fair that the thing that is featured most prevalently in literature is, like, white, straight people. It's not fair at all. And this book does a really good job of not only showing other cultures, but showing other religions. There is a lot of death in this book. It's not a happy book at all. It starts sad and gets sadder. There are some very nice moments that are happier moments, so you really appreciate those. But if you don't want to read a sad book, this is not for you. There are 2 sex scenes in this. I know that's not something that everyone is comfortable with, so I figured I'd warn of them. The first one is actually kind of disturbing, not because it's a sex scene, but because of what happens in it. None of the sex scenes are very graphic. Thankfully, they're written very nicely and handled very delicately. But in the first scene, it's a goddess that I don't recognize, but she is some sort of goddess of sex, or love, or lust, or something like that. And she is a prostitute to make money, and she gets the guys that hire her to worship her in bed, and that is how she maintains power. And the disturbing part, I'm warning you of this because I didn't have a warning, and I just had to set my book down for a little bit and text my friend, like, what the hell did I just read? Because it's really weird. They're, like, getting it on. And all of a sudden, she, like, absorbs half of him into her body, and he's like, how are my legs inside of her? And then she absorbs all of him into her body. I just had to take a breather after that, because I would have been fine had I seen it coming, but I didn't see it coming, and it really threw me for a loop. So I'm warning you of that. The other sex scene, though, is very nice. It's a scene that they do in the TV show, and apparently the TV show version of it is very nice as well. It's between 2 men of color, specifically 2 Muslim men of color, which is really nice because you know what we get to hear most of about Muslims in America. But it's really nice to see them loving and see it portrayed in such a gentle way. It's not a degrading scene at all. It's not objectifying at all. It's human, and it's very nice. It's between a Muslim man and actually it's some sort of deity or figure, but it was really nice to read. It's a good scene. Usually I'm not a big fan of sex scenes just thrown into books, but both of these are very nice, and while they don't serve to further the plot, they help you understand the mythologies and the gods a lot better and how they are existing in America. Another complaint is there are parts of this that are really anticlimactic. They aren't as dramatic as you expect them to be, and I wasn't a big fan of that, because when you say there's going to be a war, I want a war. I don't want it to sputter out like a dud firework. I want it to explode. Even if the whole point of the book is ending the war, I expected a little more. I was a little disappointed, but overall, it's a very good book. I love it. I highly recommend it. It is really good. I think I've said that 1,000 times, but I adored this book. It's very well written. There's a lot of really good representation. It's really cool to see the gods, and I think I'm going to go pick up some books about religion, because there are some religions and mythologies I really want to learn about now. So that's it for this video. I really hope you check out American Gods. I'll leave a link to its Goodreads below if you want to read some more about it. If you have any book recommendations based on this or what I said about this, I think that's all I have to say for now. Have a beautiful day. Bye. See you in my next video, which will hopefully be soon. My days kind of blur together anymore. I don't know.